why did the Soviets love doing this exercise so much with their elite athletes?
Saying, oh, he's bending his back and this is happening right here.
There's one exercise so effective, it gave Soviet athletes joints of steel. It gave the Soviets the ability to throw their opponents mid-air from any uncomfortable position. And today, we'll talk about the Soviet high pull and how you can add this workout in your routine. And before someone starts ripping through the comments that this athlete's back is bending and it's dangerous for the spine, we'll talk about how to do it safely and why it was loved by the Russians. But here's a question to keep you occupied throughout this video. Do you love or hate deadlifts? Because this will be important later on. Comment your answers in the section below. So let's get right into it. What is the Soviet high pull?
I mean, you're getting essentially a deadlift, a Jefferson curl, and a high pull all in one movement. And that's even before you start considering what happens when you add all these things together into a single movement.
Ultra-marathon runner James Pierat has discussed the significance of the Soviet high pull and talked about where it originated from. So the high pull is essentially a cross between a deadlift and a Jefferson curl. And if you're wondering what a Jefferson curl is, then we'll discuss that in a minute, so stay tuned. Soviet coaches weren't impressed by mirror muscles. They measured output, how much force you could produce, how fast, and how often. The high pull checked every box. It starts with violent hip drive, forcing the glutes and hamstrings to fire like a loaded spring. Then comes triple extension, ankles, knees, hips snapping together in one coordinated surge. That sequence alone separates athletes from lifters. But it doesn't stop there. The bar keeps traveling, demanding upper back thickness, trap power, and crushing grip strength to control it. One movement, head-to-toe recruitment. Under fatigue, this mattered even more. Because real strength isn't what you lift fresh. It's what you can produce when your lungs burn and your body wants to quit. But keeping the philosophy aside, let's see what far-reaching advantages of the Jefferson curl. The Jefferson curl. It looks strange, almost wrong, but the Jefferson curl might be one of the most misunderstood strength builders ever created. The movement traces back to old-school strongmen and physical culture athletes in the early 1900s. Later, it became popular in gymnastics circles and Soviet-influenced mobility systems. The goal wasn't aesthetics, it was resilience, building a spine that could flex under control instead of failing under load. The Jefferson curl trains loaded spinal flexion. That's the key. Instead of avoiding rounding your back at all costs, this exercise teaches you to control it segment by segment, vertebra by vertebra. You stand on a box or elevated surface, hold a light barbell, dumbbell, or kettlebell, then slowly roll your spine downward, starting with the chin tucked. Each spinal segment flexes deliberately as you reach toward your toes. At the bottom, you pause. Then you reverse the motion the same way, stacking the spine one vertebra at a time. The benefits are unique, but you have to do this really slow and with a light weight. If you have severe back problems, then don't try this out just yet. It lengthens and strengthens the hamstrings through a deeper range. It builds tolerance in the lower back and connective tissues. It improves spinal articulation and control. And it bulletproofs positions where most injuries happen, under fatigue and flexion. But this is not a max weight lift. Start extremely light. 2 to 5 kilos is enough for most people. Move slowly. Own every inch of the range. If you feel sharp pain, stop. Mild stretch and muscular effort is expected. Joint pain is not. Performed once or twice per week after training, the Jefferson curl builds something most lifters ignore: usable flexibility under load. And that's the kind of strength that lasts decades. Now that we've understood one part of the Soviet high pull, let's discuss why you should do the high pull in the first place.
Should you do this exercise? AKA, why did the Soviets love doing this exercise so much with their elite athletes? Well, As Louis Simmons, the founder of Westside Barbell, often referred to as the strongest gym in history, would say, he never met a strong person in his life who didn't have a strong back. And the Soviet high pull is just an excellent exercise for building a strong back.
A strong back would essentially give you the kind of raw power to throw your opponents in midair from the ground up. And that type of strength was substantial for wrestlers. It doesn't just build size, it builds density you can see through a shirt. High pulls force your body to absorb and redirect force in milliseconds. The hips explode, the bar accelerates, and then the upper back has to decelerate and control that load instantly. That violent transition is what thickens the traps, rounds out the rear delts, and hardens the entire upper back. You're not just lifting weight, you're stabilizing speed. That combination creates structural strength, the kind that makes shoulders look armored and compact. That's why old Soviet lifters looked dangerous at rest. The muscle wasn't cosmetic, it was built to handle force. And after discussing its significance, let's see why the high pull combines one of the most important exercises ever: the deadlift. The Soviet high pull doesn't start with the arms, it starts like a deadlift. The first phase of the movement is pure posterior chain mechanics. You hinge at the hips, brace the core, drive through the floor, and extend the knees and hips just like a powerful deadlift. That initial pull loads the glutes, hamstrings, and spinal erectors, the same muscles responsible for raw strength off the ground. But instead of stopping at lockout, the movement flows into violent hip extension and an explosive pull upward. The deadlift portion builds the base. The high pull finishes the attack. So what's the benefit? You're training force from the ground up. The body learns to transfer strength from the legs through the hips into the upper back and traps in one seamless chain. That creates stronger pulls, thicker posterior chain development, and better carryover to sport and heavy lifting. It's not just a lift, it's a deadlift that learned how to explode. The Soviets didn't just do the high pull, they mastered it, and in such a way that they could even lift a person equal or more to their own size, using this movement.
Follow statements like this in an absolutist manner. Like if someone says you must keep a straight back and whatnot, you need to see it in context, okay?
But let's not get ahead of ourselves and start lifting people now. It's time to discuss whether this exercise is even safe or not.
Forces teams. Now for starters, is this exercise safe? Well, obviously, if you can't touch your toes, you probably don't want to go out and grab the biggest kettlebell you can and try this exercise. However, like anything else in physical training, it exists on a gradient. Okay, if you've never deadlifted before, if you've never squatted before, you don't want to go load a heavy bar and try to do that on your first day out.
James Peart has discussed the significance of the movement before, but it's also important to understand that ego doesn't work here. If you've never done a deadlift or done squats, then it's best to try a version without any weights. Now that we've discussed what the exercise is, let's see how you can perform it properly. You don't need years on a platform to use this movement, you just need intent. Start with the barbell high pull. Use moderate weight, you can move fast. Think 3-5 crisp reps per set. If the bar slows down, the set is over. If you're newer to explosive lifts, switch to dumbbell high pulls. They're easier to control, more forgiving on the wrists and shoulders, and still train hip drive and upper back power. For conditioning and athletic carryover, kettlebell high pulls are perfect. They teach snap, rhythm, and endurance without heavy spinal load. Program them after deadlifts for contrast power, before rows to prime the upper back, or as your main explosive lift of the day. Keep it simple, 3-4 sets, explosive reps, full recovery between sets. Quality over fatigue. So, will you dare to try this exercise at home or in your gym? Comment below and do let us know if you found this information helpful. Check out more videos in the playlist and subscribe for more content like this.